Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are making 4 Valentine's inspired recipes and treats, and we are also putting together a love basket or a Valentine's basket for my daughter. She will be 2 on February 18th, and so I just picked up some things that I think she would love. For those of you who are new here, hi, my name is Jamison. I am a mom of 2 kiddos under 2 for just a short amount of time. Like I mentioned, my daughter Josie will be 2 February 18th, and my son Jax just turned 5 months old. And so we have slowly been adapting to our new life as a family of 4. And I love all things baking, organizing, cleaning. And so if those are some things you love and you would like to see some of those videos, that is what I'm here for. So recipe number 1, I'm calling Love Bites. Really what they are, it's a pretzel, a Hershey's Hug or a Hershey's Kiss, and then an M&M on top. So when we would make these around Christmas time, we used to call them reindeer belly buttons, and so I was trying to come up with something fun and cute with Cupid, but I ended up just calling them Love Bites. If you have a funny suggestion, let me know in the comments down below. But this is something that's really easy, but it is still such a good treat to bring anywhere because you really only need 3 ingredients. So the most time-consuming part of this is unwrapping the Hershey's Hugs and the Hershey's Kisses. So all you do is you line up the pretzels and then you place the Hershey's chocolate on top of the pretzel, and shortly here soon we're gonna pop this into the oven and melt the chocolate. You want the Hershey's chocolate hug or kiss to hold its shape, but to still be able to push down all the way. You'll see I take them out of the oven and I try to put an M&M on top, and the Hershey's Hug is just not quite melted enough, and so you'll see how it doesn't fully smush down into like a nice circle. So I end up putting them in the oven for a little bit longer. One thing to note when you're doing this is that the hugs do melt faster than the kisses, so the white ones with the stripes melt much quicker than just the solid darker chocolate ones, and so that's something to just be aware of if you're gonna put them in on the same tray like I did. But after that it's totally ready, you just pop that M&M on them and then let them cool. And I like to keep them in the fridge just so they can stay nice and chilled. But it's a really simple recipe, but it's still super tasty. So you'll see here, I'm gonna get a close-up. See how it's not quite melted enough? So I end up putting them back in the oven, probably for a little bit too long because the chocolate lost its shape a little bit, but it ended up being totally fine. So if you haven't seen one of my Bake With Me videos before, you probably don't know this about me, but I don't consider myself a baker or a cooker or any of those kind of things. I like to find easy recipes that don't take a lot of time and are easy to follow because I need something easy if I'm going to be able to execute it. So anything that I'm showing you that I am able to bake, I guarantee you'd be able to bake. I don't pick things that are crazy complicated. I pick things that, I hope most people can enjoy, and things that I can bake and things that my toddler can eat. And so I hope that you are able to find a recipe that you would like to replicate and share with family or friends. being in the kitchen and baking and cooking is definitely something that I've slowly been gaining more and more confidence at. Before my daughter was born, I hated cooking dinner. I really wanted to be good at baking, and I tried a bunch of different things, but a lot of times, like half the time, whatever I would bake wouldn't work out. And so I will say the more you do it, the better it becomes, which makes sense, you know, practice makes progress. But I still like to find things that are very simple, because you can get such a good, tasty, and like cute looking product, and it doesn't have to be a super complicated recipe. I found these cookies that I'm making right now, these M&M Oreo cookies, and I just thought that it was such a fun added twist to add in these Oreos. You'll see here I chop them and then add them in here. But it was just a fun take on an M&M cookie. And a lot of times around the holidays, and this is what I did, you can find holiday themed colored M&Ms, and that right there automatically makes your dessert festive. So if I would have just had normal M&Ms, this dessert wouldn't have looked as cute. If you like to bake, especially cookies, I would say this cookie dough scoop, or any kind of cookie dough scooper, is a definite must. I didn't realize how much it like changed the way I bake and how much time I saved until I got one. I was literally just using a spoon and like scooping some up and then putting it on a pan. And so this is like cut the time in half, and so I've really enjoyed it. This recipe said to cook the cookies for 13 minutes. And so I did, but I really wish I would have just left it at like 11 or 10 minutes and then added on if I needed to, because they were a little crispy. So they were still really good, but I'm the kind of person who loves the like ooey gooey, melty in the middle, almost like not totally baked cookie. And so I should have just taken some time off, because you can always add more time, but you can't go backwards. So right now what I'm doing is putting together a little Valentine's basket for my daughter Josie. Like I said, she's gonna be 2 right around Valentine's Day, and so the Target dollar spot had a ton of cute little knick-knacky type things. And then I got 3 books from Walmart, and one of the books is like a coloring book, and then some M&Ms from Walmart. But I just thought this was so perfect, things that she's actually gonna use, and it wasn't super expensive, so it didn't break the bank. So a Valentine's basket like this is definitely not necessary for your kiddos, but I just am trying to find a good balance on the different kinds of traditions and things I want to do for my kiddos. It's hard because I want to go like all in full force, but I don't want to start something that I can't maintain, and I don't want to be, you know, like too over the top, and so I'm working on trying to find a balance there. So this third recipe is a like chocolate pretzel bark, and so I tried to crush the pretzels with my hands, but it wasn't working, so I got this meat grinder, and it actually worked really well. Now I was gentle with it, so the pretzels weren't like completely shredded, but it worked out really well. And so you just have to have crushed pretzels and spread them around here. So I wanted to show you this part. I measure out the butter and all of the sugar into this bowl, thinking I'm going to be microwaving it. And when I went back to read the recipe, I actually needed to put it in a pan and bring it to a boil on the stove. And so I wanted to leave this in there just to show you, like, I'm trying and baking all these things and I still don't even get things right. And so if you get discouraged easily, I wanted to leave this in there to show you, like, I am still doing silly mistakes, but the end product still turned out great. And so don't get discouraged, just keep on plugging through and trying to make different treats. So once I brought the butter sugar mixture to a boil, I let it bubble for about 4 minutes, and now I'm pouring it on top of the pretzels. And I had never done a recipe like this before, and so it was kind of hard to, like, evenly spread this mixture. So you'll see I take a spatula and I'm trying to, like, make sure the pretzels are coated, but I think it would have turned out just fine if I would have left it the way it was. The end result is really, really yummy. So what I'm doing now is I'm just putting it in the oven. We're gonna bake it for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to sprinkle some white chocolate chips on top and spread those around, and then add some M&Ms and sprinkles just to make it a little bit festive. So I don't know what it is about Valentine's Day. I feel like I kind of go in a different direction with the treats that I have. So, you know, like fall and Christmas, it's a lot of like cookies and cupcakes and brownies and different breads. And then Valentine's Day, I tend to lean towards like more of like treats or finger type desserts, I guess you could say. But like the barks and the love bites, so different. It's just a different kind of treat, and I don't know why I do that. I was telling my husband about it, and this is how I've always been. So if you're the same way, or you have a holiday that you lean towards one type of dessert, let me know in the comments down below. So this final dessert is a very easy one to do, but it's one I have seen all over Pinterest for years around Valentine's Day, and it's chocolate covered Oreos. So I had almond bark just in my baking section of my pantry that I'm using instead of buying a different chocolate, so it works the same. It's not technically chocolate, but it tastes very similar and you get a identical end product. So I was looking up the best way to melt almond bark, because when I've done it on the stovetop or in the microwave, sometimes I'll burn it or I'll overcook it, and then it does the opposite effect and it isn't melted well. And so I actually saw this recipe on Pinterest, and I will link it in the description down below, on how to properly melt almond bark. And I was skeptical and I thought it looked really strange, but it actually worked so well. And then the almond bark stayed really warm and melty as I was dipping the Oreos in. One problem that I have when I do desserts like this is that sometimes the chocolate or the almond bark or the candy melts, what have you, they won't stay as melted as long as I need them to while I'm trying to decorate. And so I just got a skillet, and I filled the skillet a third of the way with water, and then put a glass bowl in there, and then added the almond bark to the glass bowl. And so it was kind of like an extra layer of protection from the direct heat, since the water was heating the glass bowl where the almond bark was, and it turned out really well. So if you're like me and you've burned your melted almond bark or chocolate or whatever, I would try this out. It worked really well for me. I will be doing it in the future. So after I dip the Oreos, I'm just putting sprinkles on some of them, again, just to make it a little bit more festive. That's kind of the idea behind these Oreos, I think, is you don't really need to add more chocolate to the chocolate Oreo, but it just helps give it a little extra pizzazz and some fun to it. So I hope you guys were inspired to make a new treat for Valentine's Day, and I hope that you were able to find a treat that you want to try and replicate from my video, or got some ideas for different things to add to your kiddos' love baskets. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would love to have you. I try and do a baking video around the holidays, each holiday, just to give some inspiration of treats that you can do. But I also like to do things like organizing my car and cleaning my house and different things like that. And so if that interests you, please consider subscribing. And thank you so much for hanging out until the end of this video, and you being here means more than you know.